You're listening to REI USA Podcast, your prime resource for genuine real estate growth. If you want to jumpstart your real estate career, whether in active or passive investing, this is the right show for you. Join professional home renovator Stacey Rossetti as she talks to REI USA teachers and expert investors willing to share their tips and tricks to get started in investing, sharing actionable advice in every area of real estate, all while putting legality, habitability, and safety above everything else. Combine their unparalleled advice with your strong drive for success, and that incredible real estate fortune will be yours. Now, here's your host, Stacey.
Thank you very much for coming up on. How you been?
I'm good. Been busy and of course the market's shifting a little bit with supply and demand, so handling all of that, but it's exciting and I still think it's really good for investors. I think, at least my belief is that change creates opportunities. So I think we're coming into some change, and that's just one way that we have to learn to change with the market and make it work.
That's what I love about investing. If you really know what you're doing, you can make money in the upturn or the downturn. You know, you just gotta learn how to roll the dice and just go with it.
I agree. The downturn last time actually was really good for us. Of course, I came into real estate about 2005, so the market was pretty busy. Lots of agents, lots of flippers, lots of investors, and when the market kind of shifted downward, a lot of people left the industry. And if you had your systems down and your ways to do business, ours actually went up a little bit. So yeah, we're not afraid. We're just preparing.
Yes, exactly. Okay, good. So Alice teaches on Saturday. She does deal or no deal. And she said she's really, really good. Bring your deals and she can run deal analysis for you. So you can talk about that and then you can go into your presentation. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely, if you've got deals that you want a second opinion on, maybe you're negotiating with the seller and just want someone to double check your numbers and double check what you're seeing. That's one of my most favorite things to do. I have a lot of experience doing that actually all over the country. I worked for an educational program for a while before coming on with REI USA, and we had new investors in every state and just about every city. So I'd love to help you. I'd love to take a look at it. Definitely the first Saturday of every month as of right now at 9 Eastern, 12 Eastern, 9 Arizona time. So let's hop into this. What I pride myself on, because I've worked with so many brand new investors, people that are shifting out of maybe the job that they've had for 20, 25, 30 years and wanting to get into real estate investing. So they're not, they're really making a shift and may not be very experienced. And where I've tried really hard is to make sure that I am talking in actionable steps and giving you something you can work on rather than talking at a level that might seem too intimidating or you don't quite understand where to go with the information you've received. So I know there's a lot of different people at a lot of different levels. Please, if you're new, don't compare yourself even to someone that's been in the business for a year, much less 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, because you can grow really quickly. But I'm going to try to get this down to a basic level where you have some sort of action steps that you can take when we're done talking today. So let me get my screen shared. All right, so are we good? Can you see my screen?
We can see you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so just off the top. So let's talk about making sure you get the deal. And in this instance, we're talking about making sure your deal gets funded and with private money lenders, especially for new investors. So what I would recommend is following this little format. If you've got no brochures, no info, nothing that you've been handing out to potential private money lenders, this is going to give you a basic way to start that. You can add to it, but I tried to keep it simple so it wasn't overwhelming. And then the simplified version you could hand out to a lot of people. Maybe your CPA, people you come into contact with in the community, church, anyone. You never know where that next lead is going to come from. Some of ours have even been retired investors that are just done with managing the actual fix and flips. They want to be on the passive income side. They've got some understanding to how it works. They just don't want to have to put in the work. I even had one of our lenders at the bank say, I know the bank has a credit line for you of $500,000, but I'd also like to get in and do some of these deals with you. So that shocked me, because technically we already had money through his bank. So you really never know where it'll come to, but let's start here. And if I was starting brand new and had no experience, no deals under my belt, and I still wanted something to hand out, something tangible for people to look at and get their minds thinking and open to the possibilities. So I would start with, who are we? And give a little synopsis of your company. For us, we're in the Birmingham, Alabama market, flipping houses. We do wholesale here in Arizona. I am a licensed agent here in Arizona, but a lot of our flips are in Birmingham. It's also a market that the rentals make a little more sense. So it's just introducing our company, saying we specialize in buying distressed assets and outdated properties at below market value. That seems like something everybody should know, but we know it because we're in real estate. People that aren't real estate minded and haven't had experience wholesaling or flipping houses don't even necessarily realize that. It says we then redevelop them or fix them up and resell them to home buyers and landlords. This is my favorite part coming up next. You're going to want to put your whole team here with a short bio for each person or company. So right now you might be thinking it's just me and I don't have any real estate experience. This section's not going to look very good. I'm going to help you out here. You're definitely going to put yourself, if you've got any sort of education, military background, community service, anything that's going to show you in a good light, you can put that for yourself. And for if you've got a partner or a spouse or somebody else with you, put their picture and their info also. I do think picture, people want to see who they're doing business with. It helps them to connect to you. Next, I would go and talk to your mentors or advisors and see if you can put them on there. Hey, my advisor, Alice Adams, been in the business since 2005. Here's what she does. Or maybe you want to put REI USA. I'm part of this national training, REI USA, and put a blurb on that, maybe get the logo. I also like to put my home inspectors. I have two that we typically use. Those are the people making sure that the investment is solid, that we're not going to get in there and find out there's an issue that we weren't expecting. So my home inspector photo, company name and name is also there. I do let them know that, or ask them, can I put their info here in case they were to get a call or somebody's doing some due diligence, they would know what to say and be expecting that. I also like to put my title agent here, usually our closing agent, and her info and kind of what they do, making sure that title is clear and that we don't end up with an unwanted lien or something we weren't expecting there. So you can make your team look much larger than just you. And you do have all these resources, especially if you're a part of REI USA. There's enough teachers with experience in every facet of real estate that I feel like you've got a pretty solid team behind you. No matter what you might come up against, somebody's going to be able to help you take that next step or fix it. So you'll spread that out with photos and info. And then you're going to talk a little bit about the competitive advantage that your company has. You're really just helping these private lenders understand what we are doing when we look for a potential deal. So this explains that we are a unique alternative for home sellers that bypasses working with a realtor and putting it on the MLS and waiting for somebody's loan to be approved so they can close. This is explaining that we structure purchases by utilizing the private money investors like yourself, which allows us to make an all cash offer and close quickly, typically in 10 to 14 days. So this gives our company an advantage of being able to move quickly when the deal requires that. So you're kind of opening them up to the idea and explaining why private money benefits your company and why you would be asking them to put private money up. Because their question might be, if you're that good, just go to the bank and get a loan. That's helping answer that question to them, but the banks aren't quite as fast as we want them to be sometimes. Down at the bottom or somewhere on your page, you don't have to use this layout. You want to make sure that all of your contact information is clear. Your company name, mailing address, email, phone number, that type thing. All right, so far so good. All right, so once you've got their mind open to it, they're probably thinking, okay, what's the worst case scenario? You know, how do I protect myself? What if you run off with my money? So we want to touch on that just a little bit and say, hey, we protect our lenders and here's how we do that. It's telling them a little bit about the process that we use to evaluate properties and that we only make sound and solid investment decisions. It briefly goes over the documents that are used to secure your lender's investment. So it mentions a promissory note. There's the definition. You've got a deed or a trust, a deed of trust or a mortgage, depending on if you're in a deed of trust state or a mortgage state. And that is showing that the document is recorded in the county and will show their lien on the property, ensuring that they get paid off when you sell the property. Now, make sure that's recorded. I know a friend that got private money. They forgot to record that. And the person they lent to got paid and decided that they weren't going to pay them back. So we want to make sure all of this is done at title and recorded to secure their position, their financing position. And then lastly, you're going to note the hazard insurance policy, which is your insurance if something were to happen to the property, you know, fire damage or things that it does happen. I have enough investor friends that know that unfortunately things like that can happen, and we want to have that in place and make sure it doesn't lapse to protect our lenders. Another one I did not mention here, but have used it, is called we name it a performance deed, but technically it's a pre-signed deed in lieu that says if we don't have this closed out by 12 months from now, and we're not making you payments and things aren't going right, we will give the property back to you without making you even have to go through the foreclosure process, which can be expensive and time consuming. And so we have signed the performance deed, which is a deed in lieu, ahead of time, saying if those monthly payments are missed or whatever the stipulations are that lender, that private money lender wants to feel protected from, missed payments, or after 12 months it's not paid off, that property is deeded back to the private lender. So sometimes if that's one of their questions, we can add that in. I don't typically put it on here because I don't want them immediately going there and questioning that, but it is one way to shore it up and make them feel better about not having to go through any long process that they don't necessarily understand if they needed to get the property back. Then I would go into some of the due diligence process on how you determine if a property is a worthwhile investment. So this is talking about looking at the comparable property analysis. Are you going to get an appraisal? Our private money lenders never had us do that. As long as the comps were very solid, honestly, we don't typically pay for an appraisal just to pay for one. We typically show a little demographics and economic study on the neighborhood, the zip code. You can have your realtor pull average days on market for that zip code. You know, you can look and see if the comparable properties had multiple offers. And I also like to put on there how many days on market. I have some background noise. I don't know where it's from. I also like to put on there how many days on market it took for those comparable solds to sell, because it's a lot stronger if those received an offer within 10, 14, 30 days rather than sit on the market for 3 or 4 months. So lately, everybody's properties are selling super quick, but as the market neutralizes, we will see a longer days on market, and those things will be important to your investor. And then we definitely let them know that we give them notes on what items we will be repairing or fixing up, such as, you know, heating and air, plumbing, electrical, roof, etc. So this is just a basic introduction to private lending. I also include this page in that initial handout. We're not necessarily giving them all the details on the house we want to buy next week, and they haven't even been introduced to private lending. The point of this little packet being passed out ahead of time, it doesn't have a specific property that you're looking to get funded, is just to open their mind, let them think about it. Most people are not ready to throw 50 grand at you because you need a funding for a deal that closes Friday. They got to have some time to process it, figure out the questions they have. So this is the initial handout that we give. This next page kind of explains private lending and gives them an overview of the process of what it looks like. So it's showing that the investment is secured by the property purchased, which is different than the stock market or Bitcoin, because there's actually a tangible asset there, right? And then it talks about the returns and how much more that is compared to if the money was just sitting in the bank. So it's just a basic process spelled out so they understand the private lender funds the deal. They receive the documents that we just spoke about, the promissory note, the deed of trust. Those documents, we close on the home, we renovate the home. The home is then sold. The lender receives the principal investment plus interest that was agreed upon, and then we repeat the process. We're going to go ahead and let them know we want to keep their money working and keep those returns coming to their pocket. You could show a little brief investment deal scenario. If you have a deal and you've actually used private money, definitely put that deal here, but I want to make it work if you haven't done your first deal. So if you haven't, then you're still going to show a little blurb here that shows how it looks and how much money they would be putting in their pocket. For this one, it shows the purchase price and repair cost. And when you add those together, it's about $163,000. And of that $163,000, if you're paying 10% return over 6 months, that's going to put $8,150 in that private lender's pocket, which is so much more than the bank. So it's not going in so many details that they're confused and have a million questions. We want them to get the brief synopsis and then invite them to come and talk to us more about their goals, their level of risk that they're willing to take. And here on this page, you definitely want to have the call to action, let them know what steps to take next. So here it's saying, hey, if we haven't already had the chance to sit down, you know, I would like to, I want to know what your goals are and how we can help you meet those goals. And when we have a current opportunity that kind of meets your criteria, we can send that out to you. So it's a lot different than, hey, I need money and I need it by Friday. Here's my company, and trying to overload them. So we're just starting with this. I would, if it were me, print it on a really nice paper, and I would either have it bound so it looks professional rather than just stapled together. There's lots of ways to put it together. Our very first one actually was a little shorter, and it was on a trifold. And so I actually had Vista print them way back then. They mailed them to me. They already had the folds, and it was a trifold brochure that we handed out. So you could do it that way. I'm sure you're creative, but you want to make it pretty, make it professional, and not, don't throw up everything you know in real estate when you're just trying to get them interested. And then here, I also thought it noteworthy to mention your referral program, that, hey, if maybe this is not for them right at this minute, but if you know anybody that might want to invest and get better returns, you know, reach out to us. That's also giving you credibility psychologically to them. Hey, referral program, if they're working off referrals, Alice must have other investors that are happy, or she wouldn't have been getting referrals. I didn't say that. It might be my very first deal, but that's what they're thinking. So I like this, how to get started. hey, if you know anyone else that might be interested, reach out. And now we're going to hop into what to do when you do have the deal you need funded. So this one you can do today, even if you don't have a house. You can prepare this basic 2 or 3 page introduction to private lending and how that would work. When you find a deal, then we're going to have another packet that you can pass out to those people as well. So let's jump into that and see what kind of information we would want to include to make sure we get the deal funded. All right, so we already noted that it's best to hand out your private money partnership packets way before you need the money. Once you have a deal to be funded, you need some of the specifics for the opportunity. Of course, the property information, the address, the bedrooms, bathrooms, garage, square feet, photos. I like to put photos on mine. Of course, you're probably not going to put all 50. You could put some, and then you'll have a Dropbox link that you can share later on if they want to see more. I like to put the comparables. Usually a minimum of 3. If I have 4 or 5 good ones, I'll go ahead and put those there too. Show your recently sold properties, including the same basic information as well as the sold date, the days on market, and some photos for those properties. Hey, this is what this subject property will need to look like in order to bring the $300,000 that we're expecting it to bring when we're done with the renovation. So this house has the new flooring, the new cabinets, the bathrooms have been updated. It gives them an idea of where you're trying to bring that subject property, what level of rehab. Maybe it doesn't need new cabinets. Maybe all of the rehabs. This happened to me a couple of weeks ago, and I was trying to budget in 20 grand for a kitchen. It was a rather sizable kitchen. We wanted to put in the solid surface and this, that, and the other. And then I looked at all the comps, and none of them had new kitchens. All of them had been sanded down, cleaned up, painted, and then the old countertops pulled off and something newer put on. But they did not replace those cabinets and the comparables. And so all of a sudden in my budget, I'm able to save 10 or 12 grand by not having to do that part of it. So I like to show the pictures of the comparables and say, this is the level of rehab we want to bring this property to. Next, I like to show a detailed scope of work so they can see how that renovation money is going to be spent. I have always had access to HammerPoint. It was through RealFlow at one point and through the Deal Automator now. I think that you can buy it separately, but what HammerPoint does is allow you to calculate those repairs and make it very easy to read, and it looks like an official contractor estimate. It has a lot of pre-filled information on what things cost. I had to adjust it when I moved from Tennessee in 2016 to Phoenix. Things cost a little more here in Arizona, and some things actually were a little bit less, but I went ahead and adjusted some of the preset numbers so I didn't have to do it every time. Again, when the price of lumber went up, I had to go in and adjust that and double check it because the prices were all willy-nilly all over the place. But HammerPoint allows you, and it asks you, hey, does it need a roof? Yes. Okay, is it a small patch, a large patch, replacement? And so you just check the boxes and it ballparks those numbers with the repair cost out to the side. Hey, does it need flooring? How much square feet? And this is the cost per square foot for LVP. It puts that number out to the side. Windows, it goes through everything, even down to the dumpster cost, because if you're taking off roofs or demoing houses, you probably need dumpsters. You probably need permits. And let's see, dumpsters, permits, some of the things that get left out when I use this HammerPoint estimator, it's making sure none of that happens for the hard cost of the renovation. Without systems, it's easy to forget or overlook. One time I went to flip a house and forgot to figure in the new trim, like the baseboards and things for the whole house. And that's when I was keeping it by hand. So from that point, I always, even if I think I have it all written out by hand and all taken care of, I still put it in here to make sure I didn't accidentally skip over something that we didn't add in as a cost. So that is called Hammer Point Quick Repair Estimator. I think you'll like it if you check that out. After you show them the actual hard cost of the rehab, there are still some soft costs. Who knows what soft costs are? You might call it different things. This is going to be the costs that aren't actually the materials for the house. So if I'm thinking it's a 3 or 4 month renovation, I still want to put 6 months of soft cost there, because there's things that get held up that you're not expecting. It might be permits that you might, not be able to get the appliances in or the windows in. You never know. So I always try to use 6 months of soft cost. And those are things like property taxes, property insurance, maintaining the landscaping while you're rehabbing the property. You might have to have someone come by and mow or remove snow or whatever that is. So there's other costs that are involved when you are buying a house other than just the actual rehab cost for the house. You've got real estate closing cost, both when you buy the property and when you sell it. Those closing costs are to the title company and includes owner's title insurance. It can be a few $1,000s. If you don't know, you can call your title company and ask how much are closing fees on a $200,000 house, how much is title insurance. You don't just have to guess. Our title company here, I can put in the address online and it auto-populates, so I don't even have to call them anymore. They got smart. And then you've got potentially real estate commissions when you resell it. Maybe you're lucky and you've got a real estate agent on your team, a spouse or a partner. But if you've got to pay real estate commissions to get it sold, you definitely want to figure in that 4, 5, or 6%, whatever that's going to be. In fact, if you're looking for more to add to your power team, what we talked about on the first page, I think a strong real estate agent, somebody that's been in the business, has some experience, is another great person to add on to that. It just shows that somebody that has lots of experience, is looking at your deals and can give that private money lender more security. So I don't think we put realtor on there, but that's one you could add. So then you're going to show also the cost, what the private money person would make when you pay them back, and show them that there's still a projected profit for you once it's all said and done. So I would show them the math. Here's a little blurb on how they can benefit from private lending. It's just, again, reinforcing that their investment is secure with a tangible physical asset, which is the house itself or the structure. And it's talking, just retouching on, hey, you're going to make 4 to 5 times, if not more, than what a bank CD would pay you. And it's saying private lending money means you can relax while the money is truly in a safe place working for you. Again, you want to invite them to do business together here, because remember, we already have a specific deal. You're going to put funding for this deal will be finalized by 6/1/2022. This way they know, hey, I've got to make a decision on this if I want to be a part of this. We would love to partner with you. Again, give them your contact information and let them know if they've got questions that need to be answered. Reach out. Let's sit down. Let's talk. Let's see if we're a good fit to work together, and your contact information again. So I think that gets us on the short presentation and what you can add to it once you have a property. Tell me what kind of questions you have, guys. Let me look at the chat box here. Okay.
Yeah, so I think because you like what you did, and then I actually went over like a presentation I did. So I think if they put like something like you have together, like here with my presentation, and then also Mike also went through something almost not like this, but almost like this that he put together. So you guys know you can go back to Mike McKenzie and watch his thing, and then watch my presentation with my private lender presentation, and then also this. I mean, all 3 of those, man, you'd be rocking and rolling. Right. So I think this is really good. I mean, and this basically takes you step by step on what you should be even talking to the lenders about.
Yeah, I agree. It was a big struggle when we started. I thought, I don't have very much experience. I don't have a very big of a team. I don't even know what to put here. And when I realized that I actually had a lot more people to showcase, people on my team, once you build out your title company, your realtor, your inspectors, it looks more like a business rather than just saying, hi, I'm Alice and I'm brand new.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This actually makes you look like super professional. Like you got your crap together.
Yep. I agree.
That's important, especially when trying to get money from people. That's good. That's good. Okay. We just had one question about Birmingham. Like, do you work in Birmingham? Do you get wholesalers? What do you do in Birmingham?
I do. Our last flip was in Birmingham. We actually went through a not so great contractor. I think it's the first flip I've done from that far away. I flipped a couple hours away, but I could still hop in the car and get there. But this one in Birmingham, and I'm in Phoenix, was a first for me. And we went through a contractor that didn't turn out so well, but luckily we're able to pull that one all back on track and get a great contractor in there to finish it up. We bought that property actually off of the MLS. It was a back on market that had fallen through twice, and the agent was completely sick of the house. And so that one came from the MLS. We do wholesale in Birmingham as well, and we do pick other wholesalers send their properties. We look at them and see what we can do. So there's a lot of super old houses there. I personally don't love the houses that were built around the turn of the century. I try to find them that were built in the 60s or newer, and go from there. So yep,
they're a lot of work, those old ones.
They are. Yeah. I put a lot of work into one in many months, and more or less had pretty much a break-even scenario on a 1900s farmhouse, and it made me realize that I rather just find one a little bit newer and not have to do absolutely everything on the rehab.
Well, it's a lesson learned.
Yeah, we learned
those historic homes, man. Those things are a pain in the butt. They are. They really are. I never really did a historic one, thank God. But I almost looked at a couple, and I was just like, I don't think I can do it. Yeah. So I commend you for actually going through all that. They're beautiful to live in.
Yes. Yeah, but really the rehab to someone else. Yes, I agree.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate you coming and hopping on. So now actually tell everybody one more time when you meet.
We are the first Saturday of every month, which would have been today, except for we're here at this event. And it is 9 a.m. Arizona time, 12 Eastern. So the first Saturday of every month.
She's the wake up and have a cup of coffee with girl is what she is. So get up, have a cup of coffee and talk about like deal analysis and deals and all kinds of good stuff like that.
Yep, for sure. I'd love to see you.
Yes. Okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of REI USA. Let these golden pieces of advice clear your path towards thriving real estate success and start making those amazing financial opportunities work for you. If you liked this episode and want to get more of these valuable secrets, be sure to subscribe to the show at www.rei-usa.com. Leave a rating too and share with your friends. Until next time.